Welcome to the Fantasy Hoops Insider Podcast, your premier source for all things fantasy basketball. I'm your host, Josh Hayes, now available on video alongside Fantasy Moses. How's it going, sir?
Wow, what's up, buddy? What's up? Merry Christmas. How was your Christmas?
It was crazy. It was good. I got about 2 hours sleep between work and wrapping gifts and being
your first Christmas with your whole family, huh?
With all three girls.
The little ones.
Yeah. So Kelsey loved it, except for the fact that she was sleeping the entire time, which is
kind of like Fantasy Moses.
Yeah. Did you sleep through your Christmas too?
I did. I slept right through Christmas. Woke up, went to the movies. Like, on Christmas Day, movies the only thing going on. Everything else is closed.
What else did you see?
I saw. Let's see. I saw 3 movies this weekend.
Did you
Star Wars again?
First of all, did you movie hop it, or were you responsible?
Of course, I movie hop. Yeah, absolutely.
So you paid like $2 a movie ticket. Nice.
Yeah. Star Wars. I saw it for the second time. I'll probably go see it again. I'm really digging Star Wars.
Wow.
Like
okay.
it.
That's a good endorsement.
Surprisingly. I saw Daddy's Home, which is about as bad as a movie can possibly be, and I saw Point Break, which is about as bad as a movie possibly could be, as bad as Daddy's Home. If that makes any sense. So, I saw 3 movies this weekend, 2 hours apiece, and I wasted 4 hours. I should have just saw Star Wars all 3 times.
All right. Well, there you go. There's your Flickster update from.
They just tried too hard with Point Break. They tried so hard to make it just like the original Point Break. It just wasn't happening. Not with those actors.
Well, yeah, they went cheap on the actors and heavy on the stunt action. We know the movie accountant for Point Break, by the way. Do you know that?
No.
Okay, well, next time he's a semi-regular. He lives in Colorado, but he comes to Vegas like a couple times a year. Whenever he's like in between movies for a while, he'll hang out for like a month straight in the room.
Point him out next time because I'm actually curious.
Yeah, his name's John. He's a super cool guy. You've probably talked to him a million times and didn't know that was his job. So, but yeah, he's a very cool guy. And Point Break was one of the last movies he ended up finishing before he headed back out to China for another film. So very cool.
Speaking of that, I actually have a beef to pick. We kind of got screwed. I don't know if you know this or not. Every 7 years, you and I have the same schedule at work, same department, same everything. We basically, our responsibilities are identical.
Sure.
And every 7 years, we get Christmas off Friday and Saturday. We're off on Friday and Saturday. So you know how the calendar cycles, right? Every 7 years, it moves up a day each year because of leap year. So we were off Friday this year. Next year on Christmas, we're supposed to be off on Saturday. Wrong. Next year, Christmas falls on a Sunday because of leap year. We get screwed. We get screwed out of Christmas and a New Year's. Don't forget about that.
That's excellent. I don't expect anything less.
So we got to wait 7 more years again before we have an off day on Christmas and New Year's. That's something surprised. You should,
Not surprised in the least. You know what? It doesn't matter that much to me because I've already gotten used to just not sleeping no matter what happens, whether I'm at home or at work. So there's not much difference. Obviously, I'd like to have it off to be with my family, but I'll just be a zombie until I fix my work situation. So that's a separate issue.
Now, Christmas, just another day for me. And in fact, this year, I opened up an invitation to all those people that wanted Christmas Day off. I had Christmas Day off. That's just the way it fell. I opened up an invitation. Anybody that wanted to switch with me, I would switch with you as long as I could have Sunday off. As yesterday, of course, the Motley Crue concert was at the MGM Grand. And I would have gladly worked on Christmas Day for somebody that had to work. I would have switched with them and they give me their Sunday. And therefore, I could go to the Motley Crue concert. Nobody took me up on that offer.
Wow. Strange.
I guess people wanted to work. People would rather work than be with their families on Christmas Day.
People would rather be at the Motley Crue concert.
So
I'm surprised you didn't just call in or take the day off or something like that. Isn't that?
I did. I considered it. Yeah.
Okay. What are you going to do? Track them down on the road or something like
that? Well, this is it. This is our final tour. They're retiring after a million years.
That's what they mean. This is like their final tour in Vegas this year until they do their next.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. They say there'll be no more shows. Yeah, right. Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
There'll be a reunion tour coming soon.
Exactly. Our final tour since we just reunited. Yeah, something like that. All right, we'll go ahead and get into some actual fantasy basketball news. But before we do that, Moses, let's go ahead and hit them with the contact information. So if you please, with the email address.
You can email us if you need to. FantasySportsInsiders@gmail.com.
Twitter
at Fantasy Hoops Pod.
Website.
The website, thefantasyhoopsinsider.com.
Don't forget to check out the Facebook page, facebook.com/fantasysportspod for all the latest and greatest podcast updates and show blogs. And in the link to the show notes for each and every show, we leave a iTunes review link. So if you enjoy the show, you like it, you like listening to it, please leave a kind review. We prefer 4 stars. If you can squeeze in 5 or 6 or 8 stars, we like all that stuff. So definitely something that helps us support our sponsor, which happens to be fantasydraft.com, the official sponsor of the Fantasy Hoops Insider podcast. And we will be talking about our picks for today's action here momentarily. But yes, if you get a chance to click that link in the show notes and leave us a review, we would definitely appreciate that. All right, Moses, time for mini highlights from last night. So let's go ahead and kick it off with Money in the Bank.
Before we do so, Meadowlark Lemon. I don't know if you saw this news, Josh. Meadowlark Lemon, Globetrotter, famous Globetrotter, has passed at 83.
Oh, man,
he's gone. Sad news. He brought a lot of fun for me growing up, at least. So he was always my favorite Harlem Globetrotter. At 83 years of age, he has passed. So condolences there. Let's kick it off. Money in the Bank. You know, I'm going with C.J. McCollum here, and I'm not sure he qualifies or not. He's actually ranked 31st overall. But I think before this game yesterday, he was ranked, I don't know, maybe 60th. That's how good of a game this was. He jumped so far up the rankings here yesterday with this game. It was just absurd. One of the best lines that I think you'll see in quite some time. And I think with the season that C.J. McCollum is having this year, we haven't really spoke too much about him. So this gives us a chance to speak a little bit about C.J. McCollum. 35 points, goes for 11 rebounds, 9 assists, just misses a triple-double. That's not all. That's not all he did. 4 steals. 3 3-pointers, basically did everything. Even blocked a shot, Josh, 41 minutes of play. Damian Lillard out of this game. So C.J. McCollum, he's just going ham on everybody right now. And we expected this to happen with Damian Lillard out of the lineup. And that's exactly what has happened. C.J. McCollum takes 28 shots in this game, but makes 14 of them. So bombs away, I feel. If you're going to make 50% of your shots, by all means, fire it up there every time. But yeah, this was quite some game for C.J. McCollum. Rank all the way up to 31 now. Yeah, fantastic performance. C.J. McCollum is your money in the bank.
All right, excellent performance for him, crushing my Kings single-handedly with that performance, along with a stinker from Rudy Gay. So we will move on to dropping dimes.
Dropping dimes, Rajon Rondo. And here's another guy that right now he qualifies. What do? We use top 40, if I'm not mistaken here. He's currently ranked 52 and rising. That rank was sitting around 90 about a month ago before he went on this stretch that he's on. It's been pretty impressive, all the way up to 52 right now. Soon he's going to be a top 40 player if he continues on with the stretch that he's been on. So I do expect that at some point in time to happen here. So as of now, he still qualifies for our mini highlights. And last night he does again with just 15 more dimes. Let's see, that's 2, 4, 6, 8. That's 8 of his last 9 games, double-digit assists. Rajon Rondo kicks in 9 points as well to go along with 3 steals, 5 rebounds as well there. So he's been on quite a roll here for some time now. Really the turnovers are the big issue I have with Rajon Rondo. 8 yesterday, 9 on the 23rd against Indianapolis. That's against the Indiana Pacers. That is 17 turnovers in the last 2 games. That's not going to quite get the job done, but he is dishing out dimes. That's what this category is all about here. Dropping dimes winner, Rajon Rondo.
Yep, leading the league in assists, by the way. And just so some quick trivia for you, since we're talking about it here, something I like to point out all season long. Can you name the one, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the one non-guard who is in the top 8 among assists per game for the season?
The one non-guard in the top 8,
ranked in the top 8. He is literally 8th, if that helps you. Probably doesn't.
James Harden is a guard. Let's go with Draymond Green. Why not Draymond Green?
Draymond Green.
Yeah. It's gonna. Yeah.
Did you look it up, or did you pull it
look it up? Draymond. No. What am I going to look up? What's the look up? How do you look that up?
All right, just double checking, just making sure everything's on the up and up.
I immediately was thinking Noah. You know, remember?
Oh yeah.
For the last couple of years, he's been a guy that's gotten a lot of assists, but he hasn't really been getting the minutes this year. But Draymond Green, yeah, he's just been fantastic. Absolutely. Yeah.
Draymond Green, I mean, on a team that doesn't have
LeBron James
would be a MVP candidate. It's a team. If he didn't have the best player in the league on his team, he might be an MVP candidate. That's how good he's been, and
LeBron
that's strong.
James isn't in the top 8.
LeBron James is not in the top 8, believe it or not.
Hmm.
Surprising. Nope.
Really?
Just outside the top 10. His assist numbers are down for whatever reason. He's down to 6.1 per, and you need to be basically like 6.8 is the cutoff with Isaiah Thomas and Damian Lillard and James Harden all tied at 6.8.
Fair enough. Where's Draymond Green? What's he averaging right now?
He is averaging 7.1, and he's been holding at 7 basically all season.
Wow.
So monstrous.
Amazing. Yeah.
All right, we will move on to Block Party.
Block Party. How about Kenneth Faried? Let's go to Kenneth Faried here. Really tough yesterday. Serge Ibaka had 3 blocks, but he doesn't qualify. Kristaps Porzingis had 3 blocks, but he doesn't qualify. So that gives us a chance to slide Kenneth Faried into the many highlights from last night. We haven't heard too much from Kenneth Faried this year, but yesterday, arguably his best game of the season. 25 and 11 he goes for. He pitches in a couple blocks as well. Just 1 assist there, but he's not really known for his assist anyhow. Takes 20 shots in this game. A lot of shots to go around for the Denver Nuggets these days. So I was really expecting a little bit more out of Kenneth Faried than what we've gotten so far. But yes, if yesterday is any indication, arrow up at least after this game. So going forward, Kenneth Faried should be all systems go. Starting right now, let's call it starting right now, because I've been kind of disappointed in him so far, but a lot of opportunity there for the Denver Nuggets going forward. So, and we've seen Kenneth Faried too. In the he's done that. He did this last year. He did this year before. We kind of struggled out of the gate.
He does this every year. Yes, This is his MO. It's to just have
it gets going right about now.
This is how he got paid $50 million, is having stretches like this of monstrous dominating ball, and then come back up with like can't crack double digits in points or rebounds out of nowhere. So if he ends up sustaining this productivity, hats off to Mike Malone all the way. But other than that, I have mixed emotions or feelings about his ability to sustain this, because he teases us like this every season.
Yeah, and their front court as well starting to get a little bit healthy here. So a little curious, right now there's plenty to go around, but Faried should be pretty much, their number 1 front court player. But once Nurkic gets back on the court, Jokic has been playing pretty well. Lavernier, probably Lavernier, I would think, would be the odd man out once everybody gets healthy. Darrell Arthur's been playing pretty solid as well. Not much of a fantasy factor, but has been getting some run and getting some minutes. But Kenneth Faried going forward, I think he's your best front court player for the Denver Nuggets. He'll be the guy that has the most fantasy production as well in the Denver Nugget front court.
All right. And speaking of production or lack thereof, we are now to the garbage performance of the night.
Several guys could have won this category last night. I'm going to the Lakers and Lou Williams. And the reason I'm going to the Lakers and Lou Williams, he was in the starting lineup. They took D'Angelo Russell out of the starting lineup. Don't ask me why. Lakers completely out of it. Why not develop your young point guard that you drafted number 2 overall? But instead, they want to put Lou Williams in the starting 5. So this is what you get when you do so. 30 minutes of play, just 5 points. Goes 2 of 10 from the field. Does not get a rebound, just 1 assist. Not much going on there in 30 minutes of play. Misses every shot he takes. 2 of 10, 1 of 6 from 3-point range. At least do a little something. If you're going to miss every shot, can you grab a rebound? No, you can't do that. Can you get a couple assists? No, you can't do that either. Lou Williams, your garbage performance of the night.
Yeah, Lou Williams has been actually a guy that I've been using for a fair amount in DFS, and is a good streaming option on most nights, because the lack of offense overall has sort of played to his strengths. So you can sort of just gun away at will along with Kobe, because they lack consistent offensive threats, especially since they took Julius Randle and D'Angelo Russell out of the lineup and did not decide to pair those two. So I think overall you've returned value. Just 1 bad game, not going to sweat it too much. If he moves back to the bench,
this is actually 3 straight now. That's another point. He had been on a nice little roll where he'd had double digits and scored double digits in 10 straight. Last 3 though have been ugly. It made just 3 of 21 from the field over his last 3.
All right, fair enough. I have, obviously to me, I have a little bit more trust in the overall track record. I think it's, if you want to buy low on him, he's got a good chance to get returned back to a bench role, but like in deeper leagues or for DFS purposes, in the short term, I still think he's like a decent option for the most part.
It depends on what you need. If you need some 3-pointers, he'll give it to you. If you need some points, he's averaging 13 points a game, but right now the rank's sitting at 162. So I'm not so sure, that's going to get the job done. But the minutes are there, 27 plus the game he's playing. So if the minutes can stay there, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get some points. You're going to get some 3-pointers, and you're not really going to get too much else of it.
All right, fair enough. We will move forward here from mini highlights from last night and talk about the latest news coming across the rise. So we're just going to sort of breeze through this here. Chris Haynes on Twitter is reporting that Kyrie Irving will play on Monday, but will sit out on Tuesday. So it looks like he's, for the time being, going to punish fantasy owners by sitting out back-to-backs. And, ended up not finishing the game, the Christmas Day game against the Cavs down the stretch. They played Dellavedova. Another ugly performance against Portland. So definitely not anywhere close to being the Kyrie of old. The handles are there, but that's pretty much it. So you're going to just expect him to struggle here in the short term until he gets his legs under him. And, maybe it's just like a buy low opportunity right now if you can afford to stash him. But it's not a
guy. Well, we saw something similar here, Chandler Parsons. He struggled when he can. And this is what we talked about. One of the reasons why you didn't want to draft Kyrie Irving. We knew that he was only going to miss up until maybe Christmas. But then we also knew that it was going to take a month or so for him to get back into game shape. And that's a lot of time to fade right there. And Chandler Parsons is a good example of that. He missed the first couple weeks of the season, and then he struggled, to get into game shape. Now he's finally starting to round into game shape, performing a little bit better. I see the Kyrie Irving taking a similar path to that. So expect about probably 3 weeks, 4 weeks or so of this production that you're seeing back-to-back, sitting out, minutes down, production down. But when the money's down, Kyrie Irving's going to be ready to go. It's just you're just going to have to wait till after the All-Star break.
Yeah, so we're both, I think, in agreement that he could be a potential buy low option. Jahlil Okafor knee issues, right knee soreness to be exact there, according to Keith Pompey on Twitter. So he is expected to be out for Monday's action. That should be a little bit of an arrow up on Nerlens Noel if they end up starting him in his place. And keep an eye out for DFS purposes on Carl Landry too, who's been playing backup minutes but getting 20+ minutes. And right now, especially with Okafor out of the lineup, he's the most confident forward that you can actually trust in that Philadelphia 76 lineup. I know that's not saying much, but I'm just putting it out there in the stratosphere for those of you looking for like a super deep flyer option.
Yeah, and he's actually been the top added player over the last couple of days as well as Carl Landry.
Okay, well, there we were going to get into top adds and drops, and so there's a little
sneak peek. There you have it. Yeah.
There you go. Derek Favors has a back injury or back issue. He's questionable for Monday's action. Did not go through Monday's shoot around. May not need him to beat the Sixers anyhow. So if there's actually a spot to rest them, this might be it. Chandler Parsons is likely to rejoin the starting lineup on Monday. Not holding my breath here. He's looked like a shell of himself while he's been in the lineup and really has performed well. So if you feel like he's a viable opportunity, now is a perfect time because his value is at an all-time low and he just re-entered the starting lineup. So if you're I'm not buying into that narrative. Are you buying into that?
I am buying into it. I wasn't buying into it 2 weeks ago. But if you take a look at the game logs here over his last 4 or 5 games, they've been pretty solid ever since December 14th. The minutes have been up 28. 25 is a few minutes. He played 36 last time against Chicago day after Christmas. That was actually 2 days ago. 3 days before that against Brooklyn, he plays 34 minutes. So the production is starting to come around. So I am kind of buying into Chandler Parsons right now. 2 weeks ago, I was not. But I think he's getting close to being basically back to Chandler Parsons of old.
Well, the issue that I have with him is like you take a look at the same sort of thing here with Wesley Matthews, who's been back to about full minutes. And for whatever reason, his own issue with the knee, and by the way, Chandler Parsons' issue with his knee or leg was much more serious than Wesley Matthews. He just hasn't returned to that level of play that we saw him in Portland when we saw Chandler and Parsons in Dallas last season. So I have concerns about whether or not he can get back to that level. That's the issue.
Well, it takes time. Same with Kyrie Irving. It takes time, and I think we're seeing that progression that Chandler Parsons has gone through, where I think he's back to about 90%.
All right, fair enough. All right, Hassan Whiteside is a game time decision for Monday against Brooklyn. Was unable to go shoot around, so if he doesn't go, it looks like you could get some extra minutes if they go small with, Joe Green, Luol Deng, Justice Winslow. They might also decide to insert Udonis Haslem into the lineup, but don't expect too much from him. Miles Turner, who has one of the craziest hairdos in the business, has been cleared and is now practicing. So he was in a backup role behind Mahinmi. So I think it's really going to just sort of depend on how the playing time ends up shaking out for the Pacers. If the Pacers are begin to struggle some more and get onto like a little bit of losing streak, I think that you could see them maybe push for Miles turning to get more minutes. But if they continue to win and hold down the fort, I think they will probably try to protect the rookie a little bit and keep him in a backup role coming off the bench behind Jordan Hill and Mahimi. So we'll see how that ends up shaking out.
Another example here, expect him too. We haven't seen him since November 11th. So, in fact, in November 11th, he only played 1 minute. So, November 9th, technically, we haven't seen him. When he gets back, say, January 1st or so, let's say second week of January, it's still going to be another 3 or so weeks before he even gets in the rotation fully, gets back into game shape. So, I know Miles Turns is floating around on a couple of waiver wires in leagues I'm in, and I've been thinking about nabbing him. But then I come to my senses, and that's what comes into my mind. It's like, I don't want to wait, 3 weeks for him to get in the rotation, and then another 2 or 3 weeks for him to get into game shape. Before you know it, you're going to be in the second half of the season, and you're going to be stuck with this where you just have too much invested in him. So I'm just going to stay away altogether right now.
Yeah, patience is definitely a virtue with all these guys that we are just mentioning here. Matt Barnes suspended 2 games by the NBA. This could be the shot that they get Zach Randolph into the lineup, or if they decide to keep the small ball going with Jeff Green at the 4, then it'll be Tony Allen. I don't think you really want any piece of Tony Allen, but if Zebo gets pushed back into the starting lineup, he could be interesting for DFS. Bradley Beal is set to start non-basketball contact work, according to the Washington Post. Darren Williams for the Dallas Mavericks is still questionable to play on Monday. It's going to be more J.J. Barea in the mix there if he doesn't play. DeMar Carroll could return to the starting 5 on Monday following his knee issue. And the last 2 biggest pieces of news that we'll sort of discuss a little bit more here is Alec Burks has a fractured fibula, and Eric Bledsoe is having surgery on his MCL. Expected to be out 6 weeks. So let's talk about those 2 because those are the biggest pieces of news here. How are you treating the situation if you're a Bledsoe or a Burks owner?
Well, let's start with the Bledsoe situation. Tough break for him. It's now been confirmed where he's going to go with the knee surgery and miss upwards of 6 weeks. So you're talking about a round 2 player with a lot of upside as well. He's been playing pretty much Eric Bledsoe basketball this season. So this is a very tough break for Bledsoe owners, but one man's downfall is another man's gain. That man, Devin Booker, he's the guy that came in. He got 20 minutes in play against Philadelphia. Grain of salt here. Everybody beats up on Philadelphia, but he scores 19 points. Don't expect too much out of Devin Booker as far as 9-cat or 8-cat production goes, but what you can expect out of him, he's a gunner. He's going to shoot, no question. He's going to fire up every shot he can, and a lot of those are going to be from beyond the arc. So similar to Lou Williams, this is what you're looking at with Devin Booker. He scores 19 points in 20 minutes in that game against Philadelphia, and I expect a little bit more of the same going forward. I was somewhere as long as he can shoot the ball, halfway decent, he's going to get the run. He's going to get the minutes. Expect somewhere in the 25-minute range, and depending on play, that could go up, could go down, but expect a lot of 3-pointers as well. So if you're in need of 3-pointers, Devin Booker, absolutely take a look at him. Just understand what you're getting into. You're not going to get too much else across the board outside of that. But tough break for Eric Bledsoe.
Yeah, absolutely. So not much you can do overall if you don't grab Devin Booker. I think you have to be pretty aggressive if you have fab bids. If you don't have him, let's say in a league where you drop Eric Bledsoe with 6 weeks of action missing.
I lost you there for a second. What was the question? Are we dropping Bledsoe in a daily transaction league?
Daily transaction with no game cap.
I say no. Because I guess it depends on how deep your league is. The leagues that we play in that are similar to that are 12 and 14 team leagues. I would say no, because the way you have to look at it, you have to say, okay, let's take the 6 weeks, see where we're at in 6 weeks. Where are we going to be at? We're going to be mid-February in 6 weeks. Who can we pick up off the waiver wire that's going to add you just have to do the math on the production. What production are we going to get from Eric Bledsoe from the point he comes back in mid-February to the end of the season? Is there anybody in the waiver wire that can give us that production from the same amount of time plus the 6 weeks that we're going to get out of him while Bledsoe is down? I don't think there's going to be in 12 and 14 team leagues. I don't think there's going to be anybody on the waiver wire that can do so. I would say no. I'm not dropping Eric Bledsoe in that spot.
All right, fair enough. And then let's talk about the Alec Burks, Rodney Hood situation here. Fracture fibula, obviously big time arrow on Rodney Hood. Are you interested in some of the other ancillary options like Trey Burke, Nito, Ingles, or Elijah Millsap?
I'm not interested in any of these guys, to be honest with you. And the thing about Even Hood. I don't have too much interest in Rodney Hood. Well, he's just, he doesn't really do too much. When you look across the board, there's not too much across the board production. He'll score the basketball for you, but he really, even when he's had the minutes, he hasn't really done too much with them as far as cat production goes. You're just not going to get it with him. So you might get a little bit extra production because you're going to get a few extra minutes. He would definitely be the guy out of all these guys that I'd have the most interest in. I'm just not too high on him. That's all. And I think, Trey Burke might get a little extra run as well. But, we've given Trey Burke a chance before, and you know how it turns out. So I think this is just going to be a hot hand situation. Whoever's rolling well at that time for the Jazz is going to be the guy that gets the extra minutes. But unfortunately, between all these guys, I just don't see too much, production coming from them, too much extra production coming from them. So, in some deeper leagues, yes, I'm interested in Rodney Hood. In some deeper leagues, yes, I'm interested in Trey Burke, but I'm not breaking the bank for them. I would take Devin Booker over both of them.
All right, fair enough. Devin Booker, I think, is the best of that group there as well. I think you're going to see Rodney Hood contribute a little bit more across the board because the minutes are going to go up. So not a ton, but I'm not going to I think he's a little bit more rosterable than you do personally. But either way, you're right. You're getting mostly a one-trick pony if that's the route that you decide to go. So just something to keep your eye on there. All right, that's going to wrap it up for the latest news here. Now let's go ahead and get into our fantasy draft DFS picks plays for today in the NBA. If you haven't checked out fantasydraft.com, very simple to do so. You can play for free. All you have to do is go to thefantasyhoopsinsider.com, click the fantasy draft banner there on the right side of the page, takes you over to fantasy draft, and then you can sort all the contests, NFL, NBA, NHL, however you want. All the GPPs, there's usually a good amount of overlay. They've got a $3 Boomer Esiason experience. You can go meet Boomer in New York City and get tickets to the Big East tournament, Moses. So I know you would like that. So $3 entry actually is going to get you the cash. First place $500, two tickets to the game, 2 nights hotel and airfare, and Fantasy Draft will donate $3 of each. The $3 for every entry that you put in there to the Boomer Esiason Foundation. So it benefits charity. So that's charity. So that's huge, gigantic. In the meantime, for talking about our lineups for today, you want to check them out. And by the way, daily free rolls going on at Fantasy Draft. So if you haven't, gotten into the mix yet on the free rolls in Fantasy Draft, you can check one out every day of an NBA. Just like I said, use that link on the banner at thefantasyhoopsinsider.com. You click on NBA, and then on the advanced filters, you can just click on free, and then boom, ka-choom, you're ready to roll with your lineup in the mix and play in the free roll. So let's go ahead and talk about your top 3 options at guard for today's action, Moses.
I did something today this might change, but I'm leaving more on the board today than I think I've ever left in my life. And I'm just trying to find somebody that I want to take out of this lineup, and I'm looking, but I just don't really see too many upgrades here that really excite me too much. I mean, I guess I could upgrade from Draymond Green to Anthony Davis, but, I wouldn't be surprised at all if Draymond Green outperformed Anthony Davis tonight. But we'll get to that in a second. As far as guards go, Rajon Rondo, 15,000, been using him a lot. He's got matchup against Steph Curry and Golden State. This total in Las Vegas is just straight up off the boards today. I don't think we've seen a discrepancy this big. Right now, this total's sitting at 220. The next biggest total on the board, 206.5. So you're going to want to get a piece of this game, absolutely for sure. I'm going to start with Rajon Rondo. He's going to be my $15,000 point guard. JJ Barea, I'm rolling with him at 9,300. He's been smoking hot, and I think he's going to get some more opportunity tonight with the injuries that the Dallas Mavericks have had. So 32 minutes last time for JJ Barea, 41 the time before that. He goes for 38 fantasy points against Chicago in those 32 minutes. He goes for 53 fantasy points against Brooklyn in those 41 minutes of play. So I'm going to ride the hot hand at the nice price of 9,300 and JJ Barea, and I'm going with Brandon Knight. 13,600. I think now is the time to jump on the train. Brandon Knight, he's going to be the Phoenix Suns' go-to guy for the next 6 weeks, if he wasn't already their go-to guy. But between him and Bledsoe, they're both kind of 1A and 1B. But Brandon Knight, at 13,600. Expect that price to go up slowly but surely over the next 6 weeks. Expect some pretty good fantasy production over the next 6 weeks with Eric Bledsoe out of this lineup as well. Brandon Knight, 13,600. JJ Barea, 9,300. Rajon Rondo, 15K.
All right, I went a little bit different there, but I think we're sort of on the similar track here. Tyreek Evans is my top pick overall, averaging just over 36 fantasy points per game on Fantasy Draft, very reasonable at 13.9. And take a look at the point guard DVP position. I believe, if I'm correct, and I'm going to double check this here, Orlando, yes, has been actually fairly decent in terms of point guard defense overall.
You get a little excited there?
Yeah, you know what?
Get a little excited about Orlando's poor play, or
you know what I actually need to get a little bit more excited about is the fact that Tyreek Evans is actually matching up against twos and Drew Holiday is matching up against ones. So if you take a look at the shooting guard defense for them, it's bottom 12 for Orlando. So they do. Elfrid Payton's a much better defender at the one than Victor Oladipo or Evan Fournier. That sort of combination has performed at the two. But by the way, Victor Oladipo, can it get any lower?
Yeah, I just traded him, by the way, for Antetokounmpo, straight up 1-for-1. So I've thrown in the towel on Oladipo. But, Tyreek Evans, he's been fantastic. I've been using him pretty much daily in this game. But, I used 2 guards in the utility spot, too, that I can't wait to talk about. So I got 5 guards in my lineup tonight. So Tyreek, he didn't really – actually, I might – see, maybe with that 2,100 I left on the board, I might be able to find a way to get Tyreek in there. But yeah, definitely like to play. He's been playing plenty of minutes though, so to say that he's been matched up with just the twos, no, he's matched up with a lot of ones as well. But he's getting the job done no matter who he's matched up with.
Yeah, he's been a pretty strong play overall. Had a couple of duds mixed in between there, but this is a plus matchup that I'm definitely going to try to take advantage for today's action. So there's my first pick there. Then I'm going with Kemba Walker, who's been rolling as of late. And, I believe the Lakers have been, I want to say bottom 5. Yep, still bottom 5 in point guard defense. The dead last. I was actually looking at shooting guard. They're 5th worst in at the shooting guard position, so you can take advantage of there. But you can definitely take advantage of Lou Williams and D'Angelo Russell, allowing almost 50 fantasy points per game in 48 minutes of action at the point guard position. So that's always a position you can stack against in LA. No surprise there. And then Devin Booker at 7K. I'm jumping in for cheaper as opposed to going to Brandon Knight. I think both are strong plays, but you get a great cost savings. Guy who's going to get 30+ minutes and can shoot the rock. So, and I think I like taking advantage of J.R. Smith defense against Cleveland, who's been struck. Cleveland's been playing pretty bad as of late. They got smacked by Portland on the road there, uncharacteristically that they weren't even in that game. So I'm going to take advantage of Devin Booker with Cleveland on the road for 7K. What do you got at the 3 forward slots?
Well, Draymond Green, I'm using him. So I have Rajon Rondo on one side of the ball in this game with a total of 220, and I have Draymond Green on the other side of the ball with a total of 220. Sacramento and Golden State tonight. What can you say about Draymond Green? He's just been absolutely fantastic, straight up stud, upside of 60 points in this particular format here. He scored 55 last time out. He's been a lock for 40+, averaging 42 on the season. So Draymond Green at 16.6, he's an elite option. And at some point in time, I think, well, the price has gone up over the course of the season for Draymond Green, but I think it needs to go up even higher because he should be right up there with the arguably with the top guys, but he should at least be in that second tier with the John Walls and the guys like that. But he's just one step below the Currys and Cousins and all the top options, Davises and LeBron James and things, but not much more you can say about Draymond Green. He's been fantastic, and I look to use him any chance that I get. Chandler Parsons, I'm rolling with Parsons, 9,700. I like the price tag. We talked a little bit about him earlier. You may not like him, but you can't deny what he's done, especially over the last 2 games. 37 fantasy points, 33 fantasy points, and the minutes are up. The production is coming right along with it. So Chandler Parsons at 9,700, I think, is a bargain. The matchup is Milwaukee today. So I'm going to roll with Draymond Green. I'm going to roll with Chandler Parsons. I'm going to roll with DeMarcus Cousins. I had so much money left over. I went with DeMarcus Cousins over Anthony Davis. I like the matchup Sacramento and Golden State. So I have Rondo, Cousins on one side, Draymond Green on the other. I got 3 guys in this game that I'm expecting as many fantasy points out of any game on the board tonight. DeMarcus Cousins, similar to Draymond Green. What can you say? Straight up stud. That's all there is to it. So you're going to get the production each and every time out. 50+ fantasy points the last 2 for Draymond Green, 16.6. DeMarcus Cousins, 17.7. Chandler Parsons, 9,700. Those are my 3 forwards.
All right, I worry a little bit about the Sacramento Kings coming off the back-to-back, losing a game they shouldn't have lost, and then matching up against the best team in the league. I know it's not really much of a road trip because Oakland from Sacramento really is like an hour and a half. So that part isn't too much of a concern. But the Golden State has been resting since Christmas, and they're chomping at the bit. And Sacramento has no defense to speak of. So I wonder how much time in the fourth quarter Marcus Cousins is actually going to get. So that's my concern there.
Yeah, it's a legitimate concern. Absolutely.
Okay. Kawhi Leonard for me against Minnesota. This is one of the top matchups. 15.5K. 15.5K. Yes. For Kawhi Leonard.
Finally, huh?
So what'd you say?
Finally getting in there on Leonard.
I've always wanted to get on Leonard, but the price got pretty high there for a while. He was like in LeBron territory almost. So, but
he's like Draymond Green.
Yeah, he is. He's an excellent defender too. Maybe the best on the ball defender in the NBA, with maybe the exception of LeBron. So there you have that 15.5 juicy matchup, averaging over 41 fantasy points per game on fantasy draft. Pau Gasol for me has been rolling there as well. Good matchup against a thin front line, and the Toronto Raptors there. Chicago is at home. They also haven't played since Christmas. 13.5K is the price there. The Nicholas Batum, the underrated option, the premier Swiss Army knife in the NBA in my mind. They're at home against the LA Lakers. We know this is Mamba, and he has nothing for Nicholas Batum. This should be a matchup he dominates, and I'm going to be in at 13.3 K for Nicholas Batum to round out my forward spot. Who you got for your last two utilities?
Yeah, I've been using I've been using Kawhi Leonard, quite regularly this season in this format. So you're going to like it tonight. He just always seems to deliver that production, similar to Draymond Green and similar to Nicholas Batum as well. I use him on a regular basis as well. So I like both those plays tonight. As far as my utilities goes, I'm in there with Devin Booker, 7,000. That's a beautiful price. You're not going to see this too often going forward, especially if he's going to give you the production that he gave you in the 19 minutes that he played against Philadelphia. 21 fantasy points, 19 points, just one rebound. So really not too much production across the board. But if he can throw in some three-pointers, if he can score some points, and he can maybe sneak in there with a couple rebounds, couple assists, he's got a chance to just bury the 7,000 price tag that he's up against Cleveland today. So I'm with you on Devin Booker and Ish Smith. He gets traded over to Philadelphia. He didn't get traded to Philadelphia to sit on the bench, that's for sure. 31 minutes of play against Phoenix, his first game there for the 76ers. He goes for 27 fantasy points, and I actually think he's got a chance to do a lot better than that. His ceiling is much higher than that. If you're going to give him 31 minutes in this Philadelphia lineup, I think he's going to be a guy. Right now, the price tag is 9,000. Should be back up to the $12,000 range in a couple of weeks, and that's where he was at when he was playing full time with where was he at? New Orleans, is that right? Before he got traded over there. So yeah, he was actually on a pretty good roll when he was getting full minutes when Holiday was down. Then they sent him to the bench, and he really wasn't using him. So expect the similar production. He doesn't have the talent around him that he had over there, but he does, provide across the board production. I think you're going to like it. So I'm going to be in on Ish Smith pretty much on a regular basis going forward, as long as he can return what he did at least against Phoenix in 31 minutes of play, and that was 27 fantasy points. So I like Ish Smith at 9,000. I like Devin Booker at 7,000. And now I got to deal with my problem of leaving 2,100 on the board. I like this lineup today, but I just don't see how you could possibly leave 2,100 on the board. So I'm going to look for an upgrade somewhere.
Yeah, you might want to take a look at, getting this one. That's what actually I think it makes a lot of sense to go up to Brow in that spot. I love Draymond Green. You don't get me wrong, and it's a great matchup against Rudy Gay. Who's not a great defender by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't know. You're going to have the 2,100. I think there's enough options to justify going up somewhere. I got Kyle Lowry in my lineup at 14.8, but up against Derrick Rose, who's not a terribly good defender at the point guard position. If you want to know how good he is, the Chicago Bulls, believe it or not, are 6th worst in the NBA in fantasy points allowed to the point guard position. So that's juicy. And I'm with you on Ish Smith at 9K. He's what allowed me to get up to Kyle Lowry instead of hanging in the 12K range. $9,000. It is against Utah, which is, a tougher grade defense, but it's going to be significantly downgraded defensively if Derek Favors also doesn't play. No Rudy Gobert also, and then now Alec Burks out of the lineup. So that's 3 starters that they're currently missing. So
I'm surprised. Actually, I didn't see any action on the Clippers tonight from either side of us. Actually, Clippers matchup against Washington. I wanted to use John Wall, but he's matched up against Chris Paul. I don't really like going up against Chris Paul. John Wall's been on a roll since Bradley Beal's been out of the lineup. So I am going to be looking to use John Wall in this format every chance I get, except against Chris Paul, so I'm going to stay away from that. I wanted to use Chris Paul as well, but I mean, Blake Griffin's out, and this is something we didn't really talk about because it's stale. It happened last week, and we haven't had a show for the last few days. But I was just surprised that actually neither one of us really taking advantage of Blake Griffin out. There really isn't. I mean, who do you trust? Do you trust Josh Smith? Because I'm not trusting Josh Smith. Do you trust Paul Pierce? Because these are the guys that are probably going to get the minutes. Lance Stevenson, you can't trust any of those guys. But I think the one guy that you can trust is Chris Paul. A different position, but he's going to get a lot more usage than he is already off the charts usage-wise anyway. But I think DeAndre Jordan gets an upgrade as well. And DeAndre Jordan, he's going to be an option here in fantasy draft going forward over the next couple of weeks with Griffin out as well. Didn't use him today, but maybe matched up against Washington and their front line might be something to take a look at.
All right, fair enough. And that is going to wrap it up for our fantasy draft picks today. Don't forget to log on to our site, thefantasyhoopsinsider.com. Take advantage of the at least 2 daily free rolls, except when there's Monday Night Football because the free roll's still going on. There's 2 daily free rolls available for you to jump in all week long on the NFL and every day for NBA. So you can check it out for free. Log on to thefantasyhoopsinsider.com. Click the banner on the side of the page. Get signed up free. Great deposit bonus. We have the best deposit bonus available when you use our link. 100% matching there. And check out the action. Join us and use some of our picks to help you make some cash. All right, that is going to wrap it up for our DFS segment here. Now, let's go ahead and get into the top ads and drops for this week here, Moses. And you can go ahead and start on the drop side with the number 3 drop.
I noticed something here, and that is that when we click, what we do is we use on Yahoo the research tab, and you go to the top 3 drops, or top. Actually, I go down 20 something deep here, but the drop. I never knew this, Josh, but they're not giving us the top 3 drops according to Yahoo over the past 7 days. What they're giving us is the top drops according to the players that are available in your particular league. Did that make sense? You know what I'm saying? Okay. Have you ever noticed that?
I did not.
So right now I'm looking at our 10-team head-to-head league. And see, the drop list and the ad list is going to be different from our 10-team head-to-head league and our 14-team Roto league. By the way, 12-team head-to-head and our 14-team Roto. The drop list is going to be different because the drop and ad list is built into the players that are available in your particular league that you're dealing with. So, which kind of stinks because I would like to see a list based on all drops and ads. I'm sure it's out there. I just have to figure out where it's at. But so I basically am going to go off our 12-team league since it's thinner, so there'll be more options on this board. But anyhow, that's something that I just discovered. It took me a while. Would it take me 20-something years to discover that? But just discovered that. So get in the game, Fantasy Moses. Get your head out of the sand and get in the game. Did you ever know? Did you know that?
I did not, but you know what though? Either way, it's a decent frame of reference because
absolutely.
Because most of these guys that if you go down to 10-team leagues, most of those guys aren't going to be available in other leagues that most people are playing in anyway. So you're still going to cover the majority of the best options this way.
Yes, absolutely. It is a good frame of reference, but I'll give you an option when we get to the ads here. Devin Booker's been a hot ad over the last couple of days. Ish Smith has been a hot ad over the last couple of days, but those guys are already taken in our league, so therefore they're not included on this list. And that's where I think the mistake comes in.
Yeah, you can just do the obligatory mention like you just did now.
Right, but you know what I'm saying. Up until this point, I didn't really even realize that's what was going on, but that's what's going on. Anyhow, number 3 drop this week, Mirza Teletovic. He's been all over the place, up, down, all around, added, dropped. This week he's on the drop list. The minutes back down, the production back down. He's 11% owned. That's where he should be on a lot of waiver wires. That's where he should be. Ed Davis dealing with an injury. He had been getting some decent run for Portland in their banged-up front line. Now he's banged up. Did not play against Sacramento last night. Don't know when we're going to see him again. It's going to be a couple games that he's going to miss. So makes it 48% owned. That's way, way too high. Ed Davis is your number 2 drop player. And Nico will be your number 3 drop player if he doesn't stop barking. Alex Len, he's your top drop player. Makes sense here. Since Tyson Chandler has come back, he's kind of snuck in there, grabbed some minutes away from Alex Len. We got some decent production out of Alex Len while Chandler was out and while it lasted, but the ride is over. Alex Len back to the waiver wire. You just can't fade this. 9 minutes, 19 minutes, and very little production to go along with it. So 29% owned, trending downward is Alex Len. He is your number 1 drop player over the last 3 days. Over the last 7 days. Let's flip it right to the ads. Big Jeff
Joffrey Lavernier. And now all of a sudden he's getting added. He was getting dropped last week. His production was down after being up. Now it's back up again. 31 minutes he gets, 18-4 he goes for against Oklahoma City yesterday. So that spurred a lot of people to jump back on Lavernier. 7% owned. I don't know what to think about this one. I have a feeling we're going to see him back on the drop list here pretty soon. Carl Landry, Carl Landry's your number 1 added player over the last 7 days. Let's go with Matthew Dellavedova. He's your number 2 added player over the last 7 days. I didn't know what to think about Dellavedova when Kyrie Irving came back because you had Mo Williams in the mix as well. We got our answer. They like Matthew Dellavedova's defense in Cleveland more so than Mo Williams' offense in Cleveland. Mo Williams also dealing with some injuries as well. So Matthew Dellavedova right now with some fantasy value at this point in time. We'll see how that leads up to over the next month or so, or whether he can maintain that value. So at 12% owned, I think he plays in some deeper leagues, 12 and 14 team leagues, but right on the cusp there. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if Dellavedova is a popular drop at some point in time over the next month or so. And people jumping in on Carl Landry with the situation in Philadelphia in their front line. Nerlens Noel, he's been playing pretty good here, but with Okafor down, Carl Landry is the guy that's actually getting the extra minutes. Noel was getting all the minutes he could handle anyway, and some pretty decent production. He goes for 16-8 against Phoenix a couple days ago, 10-5 the game before that. That's in 23 minutes and 13 minutes. So prorate that out over per 48, and Carl Landry is a pretty solid option here. So expect 20 to 25 minutes or so. Expect somewhere in the neighborhood of what we've seen the last couple of games. So a short-term add is Carl Landry. He's just 3% owned, so plenty of opportunity there. Those are your top 3 added players over the last 7 days. Lavernier, Dellavedova, Carl Landry.
All right, fair enough. And
what's up with Nico, by the way? Nico okay?
Yeah, this UPS guy rang the doorbell, so he went nuts. Wasn't even supposed to be here in the first place. No one ever listens to me. I'm like, hey, when I'm doing shows, can you keep Nico downstairs? And they're like, sure. And then next thing you know, Nico barges in, just hanging out.
You need one of those signs that you can post on the board when you go, on air. Yeah.
Yeah, you know what Nico's going to do? Not care about that sign and just run in here. So if they let him loose like they normally do, then yeah.
Let's give it to the UPS guy. Josh Hayes, FS is on air. Oh no. Yeah. Let me slide this box under the garage door here. Let me just put it under the car. He'll find it.
That will get it done for sure.
By the way, Ronnie Price is the number 4 added player for the Phoenix Suns. People jumping in on Ronnie Price with this Bledsoe news. I don't see it personally, even if he's going to get minutes. I don't see too much production coming here. So just 1% owned, but I have zero interest in Ronnie Price.
All right, fair enough.
And one more interesting name I want you to put this in the back of your mind. Jarrell Eddy. This kid gets called up from the D-League for the Washington Wizards. Didn't know much about him, didn't know anything about him, to be honest with you. But 14 minutes of play against Brooklyn day after Christmas. 4 3-pointers, 12 points, 4 rebounds and assists. That's pretty intriguing there. I don't know if he can maintain production anywhere similar to that, but it looks like he's got a 3-point stroke there. So similar to Devin Booker, I expect Jarrell Eddy, if he's going to get any minutes with Bradley Beal's out. They've had some other issues in their backcourt. So just a name to file on your watch list in the back of your mind, Jarrell Eddy in Washington.
All right, fair enough. All right, so before we get out of here, I want to answer one 2-part question from Hot Diggity Dog on Twitter. Okay. And
Hot Diggity Dog?
Hot Diggity Dog. He asked, is Covington a viable drop for Ish Smith, Caspi, or Otto Porter? Order of preference here, 9 category head-to-head.
Covington? Really? It's got Covington's a drop now?
Covington has scuffled a little bit there, but
I gotta check this out. I don't own Covington anywhere, so I don't really pay as much attention to him as I probably should. But I never, didn't. He's ranked 70th. He's played that. Yeah, you're right. This is reactionary, so I'm not moving on Covington just yet. One game he played really bad. The handful of games before that have been decent. Not what we were used to, but just 13 minutes against Phoenix, so maybe there's something there. I want to see at least one more game before I'm jumping in on Covington. But if you're going to make the move, who are we dealing with? Ish Smith, who were the other 2?
Caspi, Otto Porter.
I like Ish Smith 1. I like Porter 2. I like Caspi 3.
I'm good with that order. I'm good
with
that as well.
All right.
All right, second part of that question. How about Barnes instead of Covington? Do you still prefer to hold over Ish and Caspi? Yeah, Barnes doesn't crack this list to me. He'd be 4th.
Really? Yeah. I mean, I think he fits right in there. I'm not taking him over Ish Smith. I guess you could make a case over Caspi, but Caspi's been playing pretty well. I agree with you. I think he's close, but I think I'd put him fourth on that list. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. And that is going to wrap it up for today.
Are you dropping Covington?
No, he's thinking about it.
I know, but I'm asking you. If you're
Depends on my team need, is basically what it comes down to. Like, look at what Covington does well. If you have a specific need, like in steals, then fine. If you need a point guard, I don't trust Ish Smith to hold the job, but he does have the job right now. So I could see you making a case for that, and if you're just looking for like a safer all around guy, then there's Porter and Caspi. So all of them are worth owning, but it doesn't sound like he has room to own them all.
I think I want to see one more game out of Covington before I'm ready to drop it.
He definitely deserves some leeway. All right, that's going to wrap it up for today's show. Before we go, if you could let the fine folks know where they can contact us via email.
Fine folks can contact us via email, fantasysportsinsiders@gmail.com.
Twitter.
You can reach us on Twitter at FantasyHoopsPod.
Website
is the FantasyHoopsInsider.com.
Don't forget the Facebook page, facebook.com/fantasysportspod for all the latest and greatest podcast updates and show blogs for my co-host Fantasy Moses, Earl Exman. I'm Josh Hayes. We'll see you next time.
By the way, guys, a quick note here as you set your lineups this week. The Phoenix Suns 5-game schedule this week, Josh. We see that, 6 times over the course of the season. We're just going to see it once this week. The Phoenix Suns in a 5-game schedule. So when you head-to-head leaguers, get your Phoenix Suns in there for sure. Yeah. By the way, do I have this correct? Next week, the Phoenix Suns only a 2-week schedule. So this is the week to play your Phoenix Suns. I hope you guys had a great Christmas. I hope you're going to have a great New Year as well coming up this week as well. So thanks a lot for listening, guys, and peace.